Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, hi Liz. Hello. You have, okay, you want to go started? Hello. Good, how are you?
My first question is, obviously you've been quite a tear as a player, right? So over the last 9 fights, what do you kind of contribute to that success right now?
I think it's a few things. I think it's a good support system. I have my wife who's able to hold everything down at home and allow me to go out and to go away for fight camp and have trust and support and that I'm going to do what I need to do. I think it's understanding too the recovery and the importance of not getting that hard sparring. You know, before it was the old hard knock life and it was going and it was basically fighting every single practice and just trying to survive. And I wasn't coming out of it benefiting and learning anything. All I learned was that I had heart and I could take a beating. But ultimately that doesn't teach you very much. So a change of fight camp, being with a different fight team that really understands the evolution and trying to focus on self-growth and experimenting with different types of martial arts has helped. Prioritizing recovery, stem cells, I think all those things combined has really been able to help me in the last few years.
Yeah, follow to that. Obviously, we saw you kind of dig deep in that last fight to really kind of grind it out. Santos is kind of dangerous on the feet and on the ground. How do you see kind of trying to make that one play out for you?
Yeah, I think that makes it a lot more exciting. You know, one thing I was anticipating with Kana was I knew that she was going to want to grapple and get to the ground and kind of hold it. I knew she didn't want to stand with me, but I thought she was going to go for judo throws. I was not anticipating wrestling, and that kind of threw me off. And then, two, having trained with Justin Flores and been in that position before, she had a wrist control. Nothing illegal, but she had a wrist control, which I'm like, I know that when I stand up, he throws me and dumps me on my head. So I'm in a good position with the front headlock, but if I just stand up, I'm in a really bad position. And this, you know, I'd love to get to a better position on the ground or even get back to standing where I know I'm dominating or I'm rocking her. But yeah, I was able to dig deep and do what I needed to do and pull out that submission. Hello.
Obviously, you've been such a pioneer for made history in the first UFC. Now, I wanted to speak on another debut you made with Invicta. Can you speak a little bit about what it was like fighting for an all-women's promotion?
It was really cool fighting for Invicta. Shannon Knapp really sacrificed a lot in taking a risk for us, realizing that after Strikeforce closed and we didn't know what was going to happen with it, and we were in that weird limbo, she started an organization for all women, which is still the only one that exists right now. And it was cool just to be in that atmosphere. Like you're going and there's no, oh, this is the man's league and there's a few women trickled in there. And this is all women. You're connecting, sharing stories. There was no bickering, no animosity, no anything. It was a really, really fun environment. And I'm grateful that I got to experience it and be a part of the first one too.
I asked about the fighters here today about the possibility of having rematches. We've had several with Juliana Vasquez. How important was it to you to be able to just continuously beat her, especially after some controversy in that first fight?
Oh yeah, it was super important. After that first fight, when I'm coming out of it and I finally achieved my dream and I finally got the belt, only to walk out and immediately find out there's some controversies like, well, that just took all the fun out of this dream that I've had for so long. So I definitely need to make a huge statement that second fight and shut down and make sure that the into the fight was on her terms and on my terms, right? That it was her giving in and submitting and me finishing that fight. And then the third one, just to know that I dominated her in every way. I was still looking for that finish, but there was no doubt in my or her mind at the end of the fight that I won it and I dominated her completely.
On the opposite side of the bracket in the semifinal, can you speak a little bit about her? She's young in the sport, and you are asking, is she for real? So
Absolutely, she's for real. She wouldn't be here, you know, if she hadn't achieved what she's been able to do. She wouldn't have won the belt in the UK if she wasn't the real deal. I think all the women that are here are top notch. I certainly think that her side of the bracket has been a very much more plush and easy go of it, as I have the toughest females, all with 12 or more fights, and she's getting girls with like 3 fights, 2 fights. You know, she's finally facing somebody that has a closer record of what she should be experiencing. But even then, I don't think it's the matchup that's truly going to challenge her until she finally faces me.
On your second bracket, you said you have a tough test and those concepts who arguably one of the most dominant flyweight champions. Let's see how is it to be able to prove to the world that you're still best.
It's super important. You know, Talia is standing in the way of my next dream and my next goal, and that's the belt. I think that, in all honesty, she's the toughest person that's in this entire season, in this entire bracket on both sides. And so for me, this is the true championship fight. To get through her is the most difficult one. I think whether it's Bishop or Dakota, it really doesn't matter. Those two were kind of a step down after facing Talia. Thank you.
Are you good?
You know, looking at that fight, I'm kind of in a toss up. I think that if Bishop has come out of it and she's in the right mental headspace after losing her first fight, then she'll be smart and she'll rest Dakota, take her to the ground, submit her. I think the first 30 seconds are really going to dictate how that fight goes. I think if Bishop has even a slight hesitation in those first 30 seconds and gets to the end of Dakota's punches, she's going to get finished with the body shot. And it'll be the end of the fight or she'll get knocked out. I think that that's easy to dictate. But I don't think that Dakota has a ground for on the answer or an answer for her on the ground. So if it can go to the ground, Bishop is safe. But if she does not bum rush and take her to the ground, she's going to be done for.
Okay, moving over to Zoom. Anik.
Liz, there's a lot of combat sports going on in the Olympics right now, but not MMA itself. What's your case for MMA to be an Olympic sport?
I think my case for MMA to be an Olympic sport is that when you look at it, it is the inclusion of all the martial arts that we're tuning in to see. And the best way to represent how those come together, how those combined well, their cohesive relationship, as well as their weaknesses in competing against each other, is done in MMA. And what better to demonstrate that and show the whole world what MMA is than the Olympics?
Awesome. And one more from me. With you have a big fight going on. I know you keep getting asked about it, right? But outside of your fight, is there anything that's going on in your life that's helping push you towards like training and stuff like that? Anything cool going on?
Nothing really cool. You know, my wife and I have been trying to work on this nonprofit for breeding service dogs for service members that are in need, whether it's medically, mentally, whatever it happens to be. So those with medical service discharge from the military. And so we're trying to get that going. And really, those are the biggest things that are my motivators and my reason for doing what I do and my ability to do what I do in the sport.
Hey, that's pretty cool, but best of luck in your fight.
Thank you.
Jacob.
Hi, Liz. So I know every single time that we talk to you, we kind of bring it up. You've achieved everything in this sport. Now that we're kind of closer, and as you just said, you feel that Talia is the best competitor that you'll come across or could come across, either it was men or women. How do you handle the nerves, or what have the nerves been like? Have they gone up, down, going into this weekend's fight?
No, I think the great benefit of being able to fight in PFL with having all these fights back to back is I feel like most of the time when I've had nerves, it's because I've had so much downtime between fights and I'm trying to bust off that rest. There are no nerves going into it because we've had fights back to back and I'm right in there. And that's what I'm enjoying about PFL, is just being able to focus on the best version of me to be able to perform each fight night.
Thank you and best of luck.
Thank you.
Mike.
Liz, when I spoke to you, you talked about how everything the PFL is doing, from TV production to season format, it's making you want to invest in them. If you go do everything you expect to do, throughout these playoffs, how do you feel your journey can open the door, not only for other women who may want to compete at flyweight, but your other big goal to start 135 here at the PFL?
Yeah, I think without a doubt, I connect to PFL. I'm the person that they can guarantee is going to show up on time, if not early, to everything that they have me scheduled for. I'm polite, I'm professional. So to me, those are the people you want to be able to lead the ranks, to be able to push to build something. And so doing everything right, I'm going to be pushing and talking, shaking hands, trying to get that 135 division, because the inclusion of the 135 division is what we're missing. There's no other organization that has it. And you can see that that weight division is kind of falling away, and it's not for a lack of talent. We have so much amazing talent that could fill that division and take over every other organization that would really put a stamp on why PFL is the best.
While you're shaking hands, are you also continuing that campaign that if you win this whole thing, you should get the super belt as well at the end?
Absolutely. It's exactly what I'm doing.
It's funny you mentioned, you know, kind of keeping emotions in check. We just talked to Linton Vassell, who kind of said the same thing. Can you speak more on like the PFL format, not allowing you to get too low if you didn't have your best performance, or not getting too high if you pull off a submission and get into the playoffs with 8 seconds left? How does that PFL format continue to help fighters keep their emotions in check?
Yeah, I don't know about the other fighters, but I definitely know for me that the success that I found in PFL definitely keeps my emotions in check. The first one's like, great, I dominated Velasquez, and I had made a note to myself leaving the UFC that I did not want to get any more decision wins. And I've tried to stick by that. And, you know, I've had 9 fights down with only 2 decision wins, and I certainly didn't want in PFL of all things to have that happen. So it's like, okay, cool. Like I beat her again. I know I completely dominated fight 1. I'm like, but I don't know if I'm continuing on in the tournament. And then we get to the second fight and it's like, okay, cool. Well, I could be doing even better if I finished in the first round. So it's really, if you're not finishing in the first round in the first like 30 seconds, it's really hard to leave the fight with a celebration because you don't know where you're going to be placed and if you're actually at the top.
Thank you very much. All the best this weekend.
Thank you.
Marty.
Hi, Liz. Just a couple from myself. We know Tyler's an elite flyweight and she's a very hard puzzle to solve. But is there any holes in her game that you have identified that you can exploit this Thursday?
Yeah, absolutely. I found holes in her game. Like she is a well-rounded martial artist and that she is good in every aspect, but she's not great in every aspect. And those are the holes, is seeing in striking what she's missing, seeing in her wrestling, in her anti-wrestling, and even in her jiu-jitsu, her ground and pound. There are flaws and there are openings every single place that I know that I can capitalize on.
Nice, nice. And the last one from myself, other than that, obviously, do you think, obviously, the momentum going into this, obviously, you're riding on a 9-fight win streak. Do you think that also gives you an edge going into that fight?
Yeah, I certainly think that it gives an edge just in being in the right mental headspace and understanding what I've been doing correctly to keep applying that going forward. But again, I'm facing now the toughest person that I faced, I think, in a few years now. So all that doesn't mean anything if I can't apply everything I need to do on Friday night.
That's the scale.
All right, Liz, that's all I got for you today. Thank
Awesome.
you so
Thank you.
much. Appreciate it.